The vibration wasn't loud. It didn't shake the walls or rattle the steel frame of the holding facility. But Andrew felt it, not with his ears, with something deeper, a pressure behind the eyes, a tightening at the base of the skull. The same sensation he had experienced in the underground chamber before the overload. They were bringing it back online, faster than he expected. He swung his legs off the cot and pressed his palm against the cold concrete floor. Yes, there, a pulse, slow, controlled, artificial. The door at the end of the corridor buzzed open. Footsteps approached, not hurried, measured. The man in the grey suit entered Andrew's cell alone this time. No restraints. Andrew asked. The man gave a faint smile. "You're not the violent type." He remained standing. "You're perceptive," Andrew said quietly. "The system is restarting." The man studied him for a moment. "Partial restoration," he replied. "Segmented zones only. Critical districts first. Financial district," Andrew guessed, "and medical infrastructure." Andrew let out a dry laugh. "Of course." The man walked slowly around the cell, hands clasped behind his back. "You disrupted a beta phase calibration. The full network isn't active yet. Cities evolve. Mr. Clark, technology integrates. You can't halt progress because it makes you uncomfortable." Andrew's gaze sharpened. "You call neural manipulation progress. I call it adaptation." The man stopped in front of him. "Do you know what happened during the 6-hour blackout?" Andrew said nothing. Emergency rooms reported increased agitation when people woke from deep sleep. Anxiety spikes, emotional volatility, unfiltered cognition. Andrew almost smiled. "That's called being human. It's inefficient." The word lingered in the air. Inefficient. The man tapped a small device in his pocket. "You think in terms of freedom. We think in terms of stability." Andrew leaned forward slightly. "You're afraid of unpredictability." The man didn't deny it. Unpredictable systems collapse, or they change. Silence stretched between them. Then, a distant sound, not mechanical, human, shouting. The man's head tilted slightly toward the corridor. More voices now, raised, urgent. A guard rushed past the cell entrance. The man in grey frowned. "This facility is secure," he said calmly. Another shout, closer. Andrew stood. "What's happening?" The man tapped an earpiece, static. Then fragments of speech, crowd forming. "Data leak confirmed. Protests downtown." Andrew's pulse quickened. The man removed the earpiece slowly. "It seems," he said evenly, "your broadcast reached further than anticipated." Across the city, screens lit up, not with official statements, but with mirrored copies of the leaked files. Independent journalists had begun dissecting them live. A coalition of neuroscientists from multiple universities released a joint statement questioning the legitimacy of the municipal infrastructure program. One prominent researcher said on a live stream, "The frequency signatures match, sustained, subthreshold neural entrainment. This is not a coincidence." Clips spread rapidly before takedowns could occur. Crowds gathered outside government buildings, not violent, not yet, but awake, really awake. For the first time in years, citizens described clarity like a fog lifting. They were tired, but lucid and angry. Jessica sat in her interrogation room when the lights flickered. Her interrogator stepped outside to take a call. She listened. Voices carried faintly through the wall. Public relations disaster, international inquiry, foreign cities requesting confirmation, foreign cities. Her stomach tightened. This wasn't isolated. She knew it. If one metropolitan hub deployed such a system, it would not remain local. The door opened abruptly. Not her interrogator. A young guard. Nervous. "They're moving detainees," he said quickly. "Orders just changed." Jessica narrowed her eyes. "Why?" He hesitated. Then, almost in a whisper, "My sister collapsed last night. She said she hadn't dreamed in 5 years. She dreamed yesterday." Jessica held his gaze, and she woke up crying, not scared, just overwhelmed. He swallowed. "They told us the leak was fake. But if it was fake, why are they panicking?" Jessica stood slowly. "What are you doing?" He stepped aside. "Go." She didn't move immediately. "This will cost you." He nodded faintly. "I know." She walked out. Back in Andrew's cell, the man in grey stood very still. "You underestimated them," Andrew said. The man's eyes hardened slightly. "We underestimated the speed of dissemination." Andrew stepped closer to the bars. "You can't erase curiosity." The shouting in the building grew louder. Sirens outside. Not the distant, controlled kind. Chaotic ones. The man looked at Andrew for a long moment. "You believe this is victory?" I believe it's a beginning. The man considered that. Perhaps, he said quietly. But you're thinking too small. Andrew frowned. What does that mean? The man's gaze shifted toward the ceiling, as if he could see through it. This city is a prototype. A cold realization spread through Andrew's chest. For how many? The man did not answer directly. Global infrastructure partnerships. He said instead, shared technology initiatives, smart urban development. Andrew's breath slowed. How many cities? A pause. Enough. The corridor lights flickered again. Then the cell door unlocked with a sharp mechanical click. Both men looked down at the control panel. That wasn't me, Andrew said. The man in grey reached slowly into his jacket. But before he could react, Jessica appeared at the end of the corridor. Andrew, she called. He turned. Relief and shock collided in his chest. How? No time, she said. They're losing internal control. Staff are divided. The man in grey stepped back, assessing. This is temporary chaos, he said. Order returns. Jessica's voice was steady. Not if the world is watching. Andrew stepped out of the cell. He faced the man in grey one last time. You built an architecture of control, Andrew said quietly. But you forgot something. And what is that? People don't like being engineered. For the first time, the man's expression shifted. Not fear, calculation. You've destabilized more than you realize, he said softly. If this collapses globally, the consequences will not be poetic. Andrew held his gaze. Maybe it's time the world decides for itself. Alarms blared again. Jessica grabbed Andrew's arm. We have to move. They ran down the corridor as emergency lighting bathed the facility in red. Behind them, the man in grey remained still, listening. Far beneath the city, the restored frequency pulsed stronger. But now, it was no longer invisible.